Hello, welcome to this week's How's the Market, Pensacola. Monday, February 10th, day after the Oscars. If you may or may not know, if you're just now finding me on whatever channel, I've always had a enjoyment of film. I'm in a few television shows, and I've done a couple of films too, and I just enjoy being on set. It's a blast. So obviously watching the Oscars were part of my plans yesterday. Just to listen, I put out the predictions. If you followed me on Twitter or Instagram, I put out my predictions, and there was a shocker, and it was definitely for Best Picture. Best Picture, I thought for sure was going to go to Joker, but in all fairness, Parasite, which came out of South Korea, I have not seen, so it really did kind of floor me a little bit. But hey, I lived there in South Korea for a year. That was many, many, many moons ago when I was stationed there, but I think I'm not the only one that was shocked. You know what? We could have a whole episode here talking about who won, who didn't win, what was the Oscars, and of course we could always go into who was wearing what. It's not my style though. And that's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is talk about local real estate. Let's go.
I'm a man on a mission.
My mission is to help people break through all the noise out there and
Don't need no permission.
I want to help you get to actual truth. Don't you just want the truth?
Oh, right. So we always start the show off every week the same way. If this is the first time you've seen it, I always start off with this slide so we can get a good baseline. If we have between 6 and 7 months worth of inventory, it is considered a neutral market. Anything greater than 7 months is considered a buyer's market. Anything less than 6 months is considered a seller's market. What the slide doesn't say is anything greater than 9 is considered a hyper buyer's market. Anything under 3 is considered a hyper seller's market. That changes both sides of the equation, whether you're a buyer or a seller. Because as a buyer, it's a hyper seller's market. You're probably going to have to come in very, very close, if not over list price. And if it's a hyper buyer's market, a seller needs to be realistic as far as marketing the property, and as well as when we get into negotiations. So let's start. A couple interesting stories. We're going to start with Santa Rosa County. If you remember last week, we actually saw the 300 to 400 drop below this hyper seller's market and get up to just a seller's market. Well, there's still demand there, serious demand there. So we are back down to a hyper seller's market. Now the 4 to 450 actually jumped up to just a seller's market, because if you've watched the show at all since about 2 weeks before Halloween in Santa Rosa County, everything under $500,000 has been a hyper seller's market for weeks. Weeks. Everything under $500,000 has been a hyper seller's market. So the 4 to 450 has actually just jumped up to a seller, so we've got a little bit more inventory here. But I'm still concerned at that first-time buyer home market. You got 100,000 to 150 has 1.6. That is definitely a hyper seller's market, and 150 to 200 has 0.6. 0.6. 150 to 200 has 0.6. The 2 to 250, we're at 2.7. So we're almost exiting a hyper sellers. That's also, guys, where I'm seeing a lot of builders come in between 2 and 300. Those are flying off the shelf. So I think we're seeing some of this increased inventory between that 2 and 300 mark. What concerns me, like I said, is that between 100 and 200 mark in Santa Rosa County, because again, that's our first time home buyer market, and we just do not have many properties. If you look, I've got 31 plus 27 is 58. I got 58 properties total between 100 and 200. And I've seen some of these properties, and these properties are not in the best of conditions. So what I do believe is going to happen more and more and more at that price point is people are going to get in touch with experts on how to do renovation loans. If you are feeling frustrated because you need to buy something in that price point and that's all we can afford, cool, we can find a property, but we need to do a renovation loan. FHA's got a renovation loan, VA's got a renovation loan, conventionals have renovation loans. They are a little bit more tedious, so you definitely want to work with an expert who's done them. They just take a little more time, but can you imagine getting a property, walking in and looking past its current condition, but rolling in a brand new roof, brand new flooring, brand new kitchen, brand new bathroom, all into the loan? It's almost a brand new house, brand new hot water heater, get all brand new air conditioning. Can you imagine? I mean, think about that. Can you imagine having a brand new roof, brand new air conditioning, brand new kitchen, brand new hot water heater? That's some of the 4 biggest things we've got. All that rolled into a loan. I think we're going to see more and more and more of these renovation loans because some of these properties are not in good conditions, but they're still demanding $150,000 just because of our old economic class supply demand. There's not much supply. So, let's continue on. The 5 to 550 sellers market, almost a hyper sellers market. That's actually come down some. That was up around 4 and 5, so that was creeping up to a neutral market. But then 550 to 600, a buyer's market. So if you have a property that we think is worth 550, we've got to make the choice on which way we want to market it, because one is a seller's, one is a buyer's. That's one of the reasons, and I've said this 100 times on this show, when people ask me how the market is, I don't know. And I get that weird look like, aren't you the mortgage and real estate professional? Yeah. But you haven't given me enough information, so I don't know. This is why. Because if it's at 550, well, I don't know. You tell me. Is it a seller's market or a buyer's market? It could be both. So you've got to figure out your negotiations. You got to figure out your marketing. 6 to 650, hyper buyers. Hyper buyers. All right. Things are still selling pretty good there. 700 plus, you got a year's worth of inventory. Things are selling almost at 92%. 92% of list price. So pay attention to that on both sides of the equation. Let's jump over to Escambia County. Escambia County has been the same way. Everything under 300 is a hyper seller's market. I had a client of mine trying to pick up an investment property. It came on here. It came on at $99,950, which was a strange list price to me. But okay. To me, if it's going to do that, why not just come on at 100? Because anybody that starts their search at 100 is not going to see you. So why $50 under? I don't understand. But I've been doing this long enough to where I just quit trying to figure out why people do certain things. It's like, okay, that was their decision. So my client put in a $100,000 offer on it. $100,000 offer on it. Had multiple offers within 24 hours. We put in $100,000 as an as-is sale and lost. So we give them the list price. This is what I'm trying to tell you guys. We give them exactly what they were asking for and lost. Someone not only beat us out on price, but also was willing to pay cash. This price point, 1 month's worth of inventory. 1 month. This would have been a perfect first-time home buyer property. It's a little 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,100 square foot, 1-car garage. I mean, it's just perfect. All right, my particular client was trying to buy it as an investment property. Okay. It's just perfect. So, it looks like the 250 to 300, again, we're seeing builders in this area. It looks like that's going to go into just a sellers and not a hyper sellers probably next month. But the same thing we've been seeing here, everything under 300 is a hyper sellers, everything under $500,000 is a sellers. So 300 to 500 is a sellers. I got a property right here at 300. It's at 300 flat. Matter of fact, we got a great open house coming up this weekend. 1705 Bright Leaf Circle. It's this Saturday between 1 and 3 because I'm not going to do a shameless plug. It's my show. I'm allowed to do a plug. All right, come see me if you want to. 1705 Bright Leaf Circle in Cantonment, right next to the brand new Kingsfield Elementary. Anyways, it's right here at that 300 mark. All right, people are looking at it. We've got a lot of showings right off the bat because it's almost the hyper sellers market. But that particular one's a sellers. And this one, like we talked about in Santa Rosa County, so we go from a sellers at 500 to a hyper buyers at 500. A sellers to a hyper buyers. So again, how do you market that? What changes? You get something at $500,000 or $510,000, your marketing changes. It just has to, and you have to be aware. That's why I do this show, so you understand where we are that particular week. Because what if we get an offer and we're at 530, and somebody comes in and offers us 515? As a seller, you can't just go, no, I'm at 530 and that's my floor. I mean, you could, but your odds of actually selling it are going to go down, way down. Why? Because that particular price point at this particular point in time is a hyper buyer's market. They have other options. So 500 or 550 to 600 looks like that's a year's inventory. 700,000 plus, definitely a year's inventory. These start to change a little bit this year. Okay, you start getting into a year's inventory, especially at these a little bit higher points, you're going to start changing a little bit this year. more than other years because this year's an election year. It's funny how around late September, October, people start getting nervous, regardless of who they think is going to win. I don't care who they think is going to win. It's almost like the mentality is uncertainty. So then we see a little bit of a slow up. So if it's 11 months now, and that would take us into December, it probably is going to go well into December. It's funny because right after the election, we usually see a pent-up demand that everybody was kind of holding off during Halloween, October, and then it just right at the end of the year. So that's all I have got for you. That's this week's show. So like I said, I do this show so that you can have numbers, you can make decisions for you and yours. I hope that it's bringing you some value. If so, you're watching this on YouTube, hit subscribe. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. I've picked up a few subscriptions this past week or two, and I would like to get up over 1,000. So if you see this and you haven't hit subscribe, do me that favor. I would appreciate it. If you're seeing it on Facebook, make sure you like the page, facebook.com/Shane Willis, the Realtor. Again, I do all this just for you to give your data so you can make your own decisions. If you're considering doing anything in the next 90 to 180 days, call me. Honestly, if you're going to consider doing anything in the next year, call me because we can work now even into January of next year. That gives us time to put a plan together. But if you're doing anything in the next 90 to 180 days, definitely call me, reach out, send me a message on this. We got some marketing right now, but Santa Rosa County, especially in those price points, there's just an inventory crisis that I've been preaching since before Halloween. And here we are the week of Valentine's. So, all right, that's what I got for you. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching.
I'm a man on a mission.
My mission is to help people break through all the noise out there, and
Don't need no permission.
I want to help you get to actual truth.
On a mission.
Don't you just want the truth?